Hey guys, Andy here. So I first used a bone conduction headphone back in the early days of being a cyclist, I suppose. So I don't know, 5 years ago maybe. And at that point they were called Shokz, and they were the Trex Air. Then I moved on to the Aeropex, then the OpenRun Pro, and then, fun enough, I thought I'd try the OpenCom 2 for work, and I still use these for work. And then I've just got a hold of the OpenRun Pro 2s, which is what we're going to have a look at today. So you might have noticed over the years, the design hasn't really changed a lot, but I don't think it needs to. The one very soft rubbery band around the back. They do come in different sizes, but this size fits me. I was going to say will fit most people okay, I think. There are only 3 buttons, so on the left ear there is an action button. On the right battery part, I suppose, there is the volume up and volume down. You turn them on by holding the volume up. Yeah. The one slight change with the design this year is they use not only the bone conduction, but also a bit of air conduction, as in like a regular speaker, which confused me a little bit when I heard that. So, well, the whole selling point of them is their bone conduction, but they blend the two basically to give you a little bit better bass, just a better sound. We'll come to that in a moment. They're available in 2 different colours. These obviously are the black ones, but you can get them in orange. I think I've had some emails about like a Kip Chinogi colours, if that's your thing. These are the first ones. They're actually slightly magnetic. I don't know if that bothers me at all. As in, like, is it a good thing? I barely notice it, to be fair. But one of the main things with this design, I think, is just so comfortable. They go on and off so easy. They don't really, you've got no risk of them falling out your ear or falling off, or they're just nice and easy and comfortable. So I've mentioned the controls already. The action button on the side has changed orientation. It used to be a slightly vertical, smallish, fairly unnoticeable button basically, and now they've gone horizontal, and you can just, even with a glove on, I feel like I can find the lip of it, or just find it easier with a glove. And it's also, I don't know if it's a micro switch, but I just feel like you can feel it clicking as well. So generally I find it just more responsive and reliable than any of their buttons, action buttons before. So that's a good thing. Simple enough controls. 1 button pauses, 2 taps forward, 3 taps rewind. And then the volume and the power on the other side. Software, there's not a great deal you can do in the software. There are some options for a graphic equalizer now. So you can have bass boost, you can have treble boost, you can have voice. If you're listening to voice though, I think someone else commented this and I probably agree that actually probably treble is the easiest one to go. I've done some watching of TV where I put the bass boost on. It's all fairly simple. There is also multi-point pairing, which is easy enough done. So you connect your headphones to your phone, and then you go into the app and you say, I want to connect something else, and then you try and connect, for me, my TV, and it connects the TV in. So now basically when I turn these on, it first of all connects to my phone. If my TV is on, my TV will try and connect them, and I say yes, and then the TV takes over. I thought perhaps you could kind of do them both or flip back and forth, but it just seems to basically know that it remembers them both. And so when I turn the TV off, it will go back to the phone and I can carry on. Or if my TV's not on because I'm going out cycling, I don't have to worry about it. It will just connect to my phone and it works. I found it really handy, really useful. I have actually watched quite a bit of TV with these on, which we'll come to, well, next probably, I suppose. So I've mentioned the bone conduction and air conduction, and it does make them sound a lot better. So not gonna lie, all of the previous ones, I've always said, I think, there's not a lot of bass. You don't really want to listen to music or anything. They're fine for podcasts, for phone calls, audio books. Spoken voice is fine, but any kind of music with any kind of bass, forget about it. These do sound better. Still not as good as a proper in-ear or over-ear option, but like I said, I've watched a lot of TV with these on because actually it sounds good enough. Let's put it that way, it sounds good enough. And I don't feel like I'm missing out on the experience, or it doesn't sound deep enough, round enough. they do sound a lot better than they have done. Obviously, there's no noise cancelling because how's it going to do that? Aside from phone calls, they do talk about it cutting out sort of background noises. I've made some phone calls with these on. No issues in that respect, I don't think. So yeah, I've used them jogging, I've used them walking, I've worn them down the gym. Mainly I've used them for cycling and for watching TV. What I would say, they're very comfortable for long periods of time. So I sat last Sunday watching the NFL for 5, if not 6 hours one evening. No issues with comfort at all. I feel like the bone conduction is not as, because it's got the air condition as well, it's not quite as violent, probably not the right word, but sometimes on old ones, on volumes high, you could feel them vibrating. I've not really noticed that with these on at all. There is good volume, we'll come to that. Well, yeah, so when I'm cycling, and again, I watched some other people's reviews, and one guy said up over 20 miles an hour, you couldn't hear it so well. And it's a bit tricky because it's got cold in the UK, so I've been wearing my ruff, so I've got fabric over my ears, which keeps some of the wind noise out. And for example, I was cycling this morning, and for probably about 2 hours, I was into an audiobook with no problems at all. I don't think I had to pause it because of wind noise, or there was talking to other cyclists at some point, so you pause it then. But I could hear this audiobook perfectly well the whole way. Having said that, cycling out there, I was listening to podcasts, and maybe just their volume wasn't quite. The audiobook player that I use does have like a volume boost, and although Pocket Cast does, maybe it doesn't boost it quite as high. And there were some times where I couldn't hear too well what was being said if I was descending at speed, or it was a bit windy as well. So on the whole, I'm happy with them. I don't really have a problem. I think to an extent you can't avoid with this style of headphone, you can't avoid that if there's a lot of wind noise, you're not going to hear, just because of the design and how they work. But on the whole, I think they did just fine. The only weird thing was, I get like a odd tinny metallic, almost like a pitchfork, where you hear that kind of, and you can tell that's, I could hear that sometimes on higher volume, like when it's been volume boosted, which they would, I'm sure Shokz would say, well, you shouldn't volume boost, but sometimes you have to if you want to hear it. I could hear just like weird, on some of the, I don't know if they're higher pitched bits of voice or just the stronger bits of voice, you hear that little, very weird. I don't know. No, the other review I watched didn't mention it. Hopefully it's not just faulty ones that I've got, but maybe something just to bear in mind, I suppose. So onto the battery life. Now this was, in fact, actually a lot of the main reasoning for me getting these is wrapped up in this part of the review. So they claim 12 hours battery life as opposed to the OpenRun Pro ones, which claim 10. Now from the first ones, I used to get, well, when they were new, probably a bit longer, but near the end there, I was only getting 5 to 6 to maybe to 7 hours, but probably 7-ish, 6-ish, 7-ish initially. Now that 12 hours that they claim is probably not on full volume. I can tell you the evening I was watching the American football for 6 hours, I still had, wait, I made a note of it somewhere, I still had 70% left. Now bear in mind, this is sat in a living room, there's no wind noise, so I had the volume probably around middle. But I had 70% left. I could have sat and watched for another 12 hours in theory. I mean, probably not, probably pushing a bit, but you get what I'm saying. The battery was lasting just fine. If I'm honest, I've not cycled long enough to really test them out. I was cycling this morning and using these for probably about 3.5 hours, and it says I've got 60% left. But that was at full volume, maxed out and boosted, which would suggest to me that the battery life is better than the last set. I think I could get 8 hours if I was out cycling that long from these. So battery life is an improvement on the previous set. So that was the first reason that made me think, oh yeah, I should do that. In fact, the whole reason I bought these was because I'd run out of battery on a ride with these, and it wasn't a massively long ride. And I do wonder if I hadn't charged properly because it has this funny magnetic clip-on battery charger, which sometimes doesn't work so well, which leads me to the second point, that when I was watching a review, it made me go, yeah, I'm buying these, is when they pointed out they're USB-C charging. So a little rubber flap at the back of one of the battery units, controller units, that you plug in USB-C. Because I go traveling a reasonable bit, and I take my bike with me, and I take my Shokz headphones with me, and it's annoying that I have to have a different cable just to charge them. Not anymore, USB-C, thank you Shokz. To me, it really is a big factor. Let's just put it that way. It's just a big factor. I've only got a few things left now, like a mouse, for example, that's micro USB. The sooner I can get everything over to USB-C, my life will be a lot easier. My radar battery on the back of the bike, that's still micro USB. Although apparently their new one is USB-C, and even just that, because anyway, it's USB-C is a good thing. So, conclusion: are they worth buying? If you've got the originals, should you upgrade? So for me, the upgrade was about the battery life and USB-C. If those two things aren't particularly an issue for you, I don't think you should. The sound from the OpenRun Pros 2 is better, but at the same time, when I'm cycling, I'm not convinced it's any louder. So if you're thinking you'll get them because you'll be able to hear things better when you're cycling, I don't think that's the case. If you're a walker or a jogger that uses these, then the sound quality probably is a factor, and actually things will sound a lot better, and yeah, maybe you should consider it. But then I would imagine the battery life is an issue. So if you're on the originals, I don't think it's worth an upgrade. The battery life improvement is a good thing. The USB-C is a good thing. Will I go back to the originals having used these? No, these, because of the extended battery life, the USB-C, they do sound better if I just wanted to listen to, I don't know, watch a video on my laptop or something. They do sound better. So upgrade wise, that's a tough call. Depending on what you've currently got, it's hard to say yes, definitely spend the £170 or whatever. They are quite expensive to upgrade to the OpenRun Pro 2s. But for me, I will be using these. And if you haven't had any of them before, then yeah, you want to get these, I would suggest, rather than any of the earlier models. Hopefully that's reasonably clear. I don't know. Ask any questions in the comments down below. But for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.